Hello, everyone. This is Bea from the marketing team of WeGrow VA. I'm happy and excited today because of today's topic and guest. If you have been keeping up with our socials, then you would know that we have had a whole slew of amazing guests over the past few weeks that have been sharing with us their amazing insights. And today is going to be another great one. And if you want to see our previous videos with those awesome guests, then head over to our YouTube channel so you can watch all of them. It's just WeGrow VA. And for today, we'll be learning from someone who will be giving us some sunshine and positosis in our life. All right. So, our guest for today is Chris Toledo. He was a pro basketball player, was the host of the Reebok City Jam workout show, and has lived quite a life that has found purpose in motivating people to tap into the positosis movement. He is a keynote speaker with experience in speaking for several organizations to improve company culture by engaging on the power of positosis, learning how to turn any situation into a positive. So, for today's conversation, we'll be tackling benefits of positosis in the workplace. So, you can already see here, or if you're listening, hi, Chris, how are you?
Bea, I'm good. Thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
I know we've been looking forward to this, and it's just so happy to finally have you and like just really having this conversation with you. So, you wanna do you is there anything else you would like to add or like introduce yourself more, or let's just head on to the questions?
You know what, Bea? First of all, that was a great introduction. Thank you. I'm ready to
Thank you.
rock and roll. Let's get into it.
All right, let's get to those questions.
Oh, yeah.
So first things first, how would you define I'm sorry. First things first, how would you define positosis to a child?
Well, first of all, that's a really good question, Bea. So positosis, it helps people focus on the positive first and takes that positive focus and transforms everything that happens into your life into something good and positive. So how would I define positosis to a kid? Would be like this. And all I really had to reflect on is my childhood. There was things that I remember that I had that I just loved so much. So most kids have that thing that they love the most, whether it's a sport, it's an activity. And positosis to a kid would be defined as that activity, that thing that you do that you just love the most, that feeling that you get when you're doing that activity. That's the essence. That's the spirit of positosis. It's a feel good feeling.
I love hearing that feel good feeling. And I think sometimes when you get older, you kind of forget what feels good. You get what I
Mhm.
mean? So I think, yeah, if you can remember what is a feel good feeling, especially from the innocence of a child, then we're headed in the right direction of positosis. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. And so, like, I was just out a little while ago, and I saw these kids playing jump rope, and they were jumping, and they were singing, and they were doing their little songs, and they were just joyful, and you could see they were just like in their sweet spot, in their feel good center. So that particular feeling, that's how I would describe positosis to a kid.
I love that because it's also just so simple, you know? And I think as, like people get older thing and we go through life, things get so much more complicated and we began to lose like the root or essence of things. So I really love that about the positosis movement. But I do want to ask, where did positosis derive from? Is it different from like positivity?
Well, well, that's a good question. Well, so positosis is the word that I made up. So it's just a term that I made up, and it's in positosis is my brand of positivity. And so, where did it come from? So to back up and go back a little bit, my first love in life was basketball, and currently I'm like 5'7", maybe 140 pounds. And back when I was growing up, I was a lot smaller, so I was always like by a long shot, I was the smallest one out there, and everybody else was stronger and bigger than me. And so in my mind, I'm like, man, I love this game so much, and I was a good player, but I was like, there's got to be something there. There must be some things that I can do to level the playing field. And then just over the course of time, I started realizing, of course, putting in the work to get the skills. But the other thing I started noticing was like the more positive I was, like just the better my attitude was, the more playing time I got. I got put in the game more. Just I started getting put in the game because of my attitude, because of my positive attitude. And I go, oh, maybe this is how I can level the playing field. I can be the one that helps the other guys maintain that cool, that positive outlook. and then so I was going on in life, and then one of my younger sisters, she had what's called scoliosis. And so for those, most people know, but I don't really know exactly the thing, but I think it's like the curvature of your spine. But I just remember that every time that my sister, she had it, like she used to have this back brace and all this, and every time they would just say the word scoliosis, my back is perfect. But just the mention of the word, then my back would start hurting. And so I started thinking, there's going to be a point that I can do some kind of transformation for this word. And so I was a combination of positive on the basketball court. My sister has scoliosis. I got to do something about it. And so that's how basically I married the two things. And so that's how I came up with positosis. And so the original definition of positosis was the curvature of the positive perspective. So anything and everything can be transformed into something positive by how you train yourself to receive information. How's
Wow,
that for an
Chris.
answer?
No, that's amazing because I really was wondering as we were doing a proper research on all of this. Me and my teammates were like, "What does it mean? Is it
Mm-hmm.
different or anything?" But hearing that story about your younger sister, I really love that because it also shows so much about you. And yeah, because I understand scoliosis. I do have a few friends who have it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's such a pain. And I also had a classmate who did have like a back brace for I think like the first year of for freshman year of college.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't treat her differently, but there were some people, they're not really all that kind. And so there is like this negative connotation with certain words. So I really love, Chris, what you've done with it, that you've made your own spin with it. There is this personal, like anecdote, but it's also how you're to this day, you're still kind of showing and applying and teaching everyone this. So I really love that now. Positosis. I get
Yeah.
it. I'm getting
Well,
it.
well, awesome. Yeah, you're starting to get the feel for it. And so the other big component about positosis too is like the transformation of all of life's experiences into usable fuel for forward movement. So as I started moving forward, I started thinking, I was like, okay, scoliosis. Basically what it is on the chart is it's a little curvature. Okay, yeah, so when it manifests in somebody's body, it manifests as pain, but the essence of, you can take and make something good out of everything. So basically just the curvature. And so I took the curvature from scoliosis and like, yes, the curvature means that we can change everything, no matter what, into something positive. We can curve it into something positive.
I really love that, Chris. I really love learning that as well. And I hope that people who are listening or watching this video really, bring that home with them. Because, sometimes it is kind of like reclaiming certain things, like as you said, and turning them into a positive, following that curvature of positivity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you know, over here on WeGrow VA, we are a team of, virtual assistants, and a lot of our work is remote work, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
we're usually alone. And since obviously our topic is the benefits of positosis in a workplace, that also does include like the remote workplace,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, Chris, I wanted to ask you, how would you demonstrate positosis and optimism in a remote workplace setup where everyone is kind of like, far away from each other, or everyone's kind of just in the virtual landscape?
Yeah. So first of all, it's a really good question. And my personal journey to this remote work was probably like most people or a lot of people, where it wasn't really that much. And then the last 2 years or whatever, like, it's really escalated. And so the first thing to me that the first way to demonstrate optimism in the workplace is my mindset. Like when I first started, I didn't have my mindset in the right place. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this until all this passes through, and then we'll go back to the in-person thing where I can really make an impact. And so what I realized was that like I have to start with me first. I have to do what I call a mindset reset. And I have to tell myself that I have to set my mind into the right place. Like, hey, you know what? This is just as deep. This is just as awesome as being in person. So first, it starts with yourself. You have to clean up your own energy. I have to go into the to demonstrate optimism. I have to go in there with an optimistic mindset. Yeah, like this is good. This is what we have. This is what's available to us right now. So this is going to be unique and special as anything else. Number two would be consistency. consistency, not just consistency and being on time for meetings, but consistency for the level of energy, the type of energy that I bring. So maybe some of your listeners can relate to this. Maybe there are some people that some days, woohoo, they're on fire. Hey, it's all good. And they bring that positive energy. They bring that good body language. And then maybe the next day, it's completely a different deal. And maybe the next day the body language is affected. Maybe the tone of voice is completely different. They're obviously distracted about something like that. Yes, I know that's life. But as a profession, us being professionals, like it's part of our responsibility to really be mindful of bringing a consistent energy to the workplace. And so, which leads to number three, which is preparation. And so preparation for the whatever the meeting or the thing is about at the moment, but also preparing my energy, preparing myself to present myself in a way that is optimistic so that people can see that, oh, you know what? That dude Chris, like when he comes, like that dude, oh, he has the best attitude. He always he's so encouraging. He's always on time.
All right, I hear you on that. You mentioned something that I wanted to kind of follow up on. So you
Mhm.
said like how to clear that energy.
Mhm.
I think it is kind of easy to spot if like someone's not really feeling themselves or like they're not
Mhm.
in the best mindset, like as you said, or like the energy that they're bringing. But I do want to ask, like, how do you start clearing? What do you clear up first? Because there are a lot of things online, like such as like meditation, or like a lot of like people are subscribing or like advising people to do this and this and this, and there's just so many things that
Mhm.
are people are saying like, oh, do this or do this. But what do you think would be like the best way to start? Oh yeah, where is the best way to start on how to clear that, like that negative energy?
Well, as you say, Bea, you're right. There's like a million different ways, especially in today's world. There's a million different ways to address that. But you said something that was really key just a little while ago. You're talking about keeping it simple. You're talking about simplicity. And this is not hard. This is a really, really easy process. So what I do, my process is very, very basic. So before I'm with you today, you and your listeners, before I do whatever I'm going to do next, I just take a moment to myself just to take some deep breaths. And don't try to release negative energy or bring positive energy in. I just try to just center myself and just calm myself. As a basketball player, one of the things that I learned in the position that I played was time management. So basically, my job was to manage the time. And so over the course of time, I've come to understand and accept that everybody's time is like super valuable. And so, like with you, when I'm with you today, I value and I appreciate your time. And so it's up to me to bring the best energy and also to be fully present with you here right now. So beforehand, by taking those breaths, literally, it's this simple. I'll give you a demonstration. I'm sitting. I don't know if you can see or not, but I'm just sitting in a chair, and so I'll just do like this. I would just check my posture. So I would just make sure that my feet are uncrossed and my feet are flat on the ground, and my palms are just sitting on my thighs. And I'm just trying to sit up as straight as possible. And then I'm going to do it for you really quickly, but I'm just going to just close my eyes and I'll just take a deep breath. And I'll go through that process for as many times as it takes till I feel you can feel your energy settling down and I can feel my focus coming into what you're doing. So, like sometimes when you're coming on the airplane and they're going to land. And sometimes it's just like super chill and super smooth and you can barely feel it. Other times it's like that. So I'm thinking about making a smooth landing so that when I arrive to be with you, I'm fully present and I'm calm and I'm composed. And basically, we're starting all over again.
Yeah, it really is just that simple, huh?
Just about taking some. That's the easiest
Mm-hmm.
and fastest way to get yourself reset and ready to move forward.
I hear you on that. And I think that's also something I also needed to learn. I mean, needed to hear again.
Good. Are you enjoying this?
I am. I'm really learning as well. And I think I do need to hear that it is simple, or
Yeah.
that it can be simple, and that it should be simple. Or
Hmm.
at least where you should start should be simple.
Yeah.
And you just gotta try.
Yeah.
I think
And
people also tend to like hold themselves back from trying in the first place.
mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just like a habit too. Like, like how do you routine? It's a habit. So how do you do it? You just do it. You just do it over again. And here's the thing. Some things that you learn in life, right? Some activities require, okay, you really have to think. And as you go and you progress, it gets more complex and more complex. This is just the opposite. It starts simple and it gets simpler as you go. So anytime with positosis, anytime it's starting to be like way, all these that's not the essence. It's really easy.
All right. I hear you, Chris. All
Mhm.
right. So going back, I wanted to talk about how, sometimes I think people overdo it when it comes to the positivity.
Uh-huh.
Not positosis per se. What I'm saying is like positivity. You know
Hmm.
how sometimes maybe something bad is already maybe something bad's already happening and maybe you're letting it slide. And there's this thing called toxic positivity.
Hmm.
Like something is blatantly and objectively going wrong, but maybe you're trying to cover it up with putting on a brave face.
Uh-huh.
And I know that this is not the essence of positosis,
Hmm.
but in terms of like toxic positivity, how do you think people can avoid that in the workplace, especially?
Well, first of all, it's a really good question. It's a really good question. Obviously, I do not really enjoy that term very much, but I think the key to this is first is the understanding that positosis, because somebody decides to have and live by the positosis mindset, that doesn't mean that everything is perfect 100% of the time. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be struggle. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be things that are going to have to be dealt with. It doesn't mean that. To me, when I hear toxic positivity, that just to me that suggests that people are or people that engage in that is just like it's always should be good. It's always perfect. It's not that. So I think we have to understand and differentiate between positosis and that word over there. No, I'm not a cheerleader, but what I am though is I'm aligned. I'm aligned to what I call my personal positive vortex, my feel good center. I'm aligned to that. And so, what that does for me is it just sets the tone. So, even if it's something that's on my plate to deal with, that maybe that might be challenging. But that tells me though is, but I'm starting from the right mental headspace. I'm starting from the right place. It's just like if I came to you, Bea, and I go, oh, Bear, got a problem. We got a problem we have to deal with. All right. So we're going to deal with it. Versus, hey, Bear, we have a great opportunity in front of us that I would love to discuss with you. Basically, it's the same thing. It's just we're starting from different places. And so toxic positivity is trying to almost like a cheerleader, right? We're not cheerleaders. Positosis is a mindset that helps you get started.
Oh, that hits. That hits.
Did
Yeah.
that get you?
Yeah, I really love it when you said that you're not a cheerleader, but you're aligned. I think that really captures what positosis is in like differentiating it from toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's not about just like you can do it. It's not about just keeping on like pushing, but it's rather being there present and aligning yourself with the situation and the people around you. And Chris, it's kind of funny because with the scenario you just gave, I'm going to give you a scenario on how to. So if you
Uh-huh.
let me. So here's a scenario, Chris.
Okay.
There has been a major miscommunication in the team,
Okay.
causing major errors to the project. People are feeling really tense. Maybe there's a little bit of pointing fingers starting.
Okay.
What would you advise a superior on how to handle this kind of situation?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think that situation probably exists in every single working space there is at, to some degree or another. I mean, I think this is extremely common. for this to happen. So this is not something that only happens every once in a blue moon. This probably happens more often than not. So this place right here is a great place where you can really enhance the culture of positosis. The culture of positosis says that there are no problems. There's only solutions. So there are no problems. There are only solutions. So if we say that there's a problem, then we're going to spend time, we're going to waste time figuring out the problem. And that's taking away time, the solution. So the times, so for example, when I was hosting my television show, which was, as you mentioned, Reebok City Jam, we filmed on the lot of Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, and it was aired on ESPN globally. Big, huge production. And with the size of production of something that big, there was a lot of moving parts. And when you're dealing with human beings, like the situation that you just presented, when you're dealing with human beings, you're dealing with different people's mindsets, different people's attitudes, different people's level of self-care. There's a lot of moving parts. And so the bottom, the baseline that we used to always say with the Reebok City Jam was like, hey, there's no problems. If the camera over there went out, okay, no problem. We'll just like we did a little while ago, we'll just say cut, and then we'll just start fresh. No problem. There's a solution to everything. I believe also too that great leaders, the thing that is their biggest responsibility is to be a leader of their own personal conduct and their own energy. Before I can lead you, Bea, to the promised land, before I can do that, I need to make sure that my energy is in the right place. I lead me first. I lead my behavior. I lead my attitude first. And so I would first come in, obviously first is going to be, I'm going to arrive calm. I'm going to arrive composed. I'm going to arrive in a mindset that says, okay, we just have some things. We just need to go back to the fundamentals. We just need to make some corrections. That's it. We're not going to blame anybody. We're going to get this thing back on course. So I come with like we said earlier, I come with my consistent energy. And so I have a group of people like that I have a group of people in front of me that are pointing fingers. And so to calm that down, I would do just what I did a little while ago. All right, folks, to get this started, we're going to get off to the right foot. We're going to make sure that we start correctly. So I'm going to ask everybody just to sit up in their chairs, uncross their feet, put their feet flat on the ground, let their arms just relax by their side, and just take a deep breath. And I'm going to have them breathe just 3 or 4 breaths. We're feeling better. All right, awesome. Okay, so now that we're feeling a little bit more relaxed, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I'm going to ask people to close your eyes. I'm going to visualize. All right, team out there, I visualize this that we're working on. I visualize the best case scenario, and together as a team, as a powerful team, we're going to come up with some solutions, and we're going to then put together our plan, and then we're going to execute it.
All right. I totally hear you on that, Chris. And I also really agree. I do think that great leaders need to really be aligned with themselves first to get to know themselves in that. And yeah, you know what? You're right. That scenario I gave is a common scenario. People go through it, but it's a matter of getting yourself in that positosis mindset and to, yeah, create solutions and not just pointing out problems or pointing out fingers and thinking they're problems, right? Pointing fingers at people making them problems. There is always a solution. I really echo you on that.
Yeah, and like the position that I played on the basketball team was what's called point guard. And so some of your listeners may or may not know this, but point guard is a person basically that they would bring the ball to the court and would call the plays and basically just direct traffic and just make sure that everybody's going to the right place and everything. And as I rose up the ranks from high school to college, then to the pro level, obviously as I was raising the ranks, the level of athlete that I was playing with was just massively getting better. And what I realized though was that the difference was that even though the players were better, they're used to being the star of the show. Like as I got to the pro level, everybody that was in college was a star. Now they go to the pro level and they're just one of the guys, which is really different. It's a different mindset. And so I learned how to deal with these basically really huge egos, great athletes. I learned how to manage energy in that sense. And the way that you do that is just to make everybody feel like what they have to say and how they're doing it has really, really good value. And so by me taking that step back to allow everybody else to do their thing, your leaders stepping back and allowing people to really be great and just maintain that positive flow, keep that positive thing going.
I really echo you on that, and I hear you on that, and I definitely agree. I do think great leaders just let, the best in their team just shine. And like I really like, well, I don't really know much about basketball, I'm sorry. But I like that position, like helping directing the traffic and the plays, because it means that you need to have some sort of overview and to be able to also kind of like anticipate certain things in order for, to get your team to win.
Yeah, and as a leader, one of the things, even currently, when I go talk to all these companies and corporations, these are basically a lot of the similar types of questions that we deal with. But I encourage what's called language of positive encouragement. And so if we're doing something, like if something is going on, there's really something really positive, really, like for example, your background. Like I mentioned that I thought you had a really cool background, and I really do mean that. I love the colors. It reminds me of my son. My son loves tie dye, and so it just brings it's an authentic compliment, and it's also something positive. And so I noticed in the groups that I work with, I always lean in with something good. I'm not toxic positivity, making stuff up. You really do have a cool background. And so as I notice that as I employ language of positive encouragement, then slowly but surely my team starts to notice. Oh, Chris, oh, dude, that's a cool shirt. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's also really sweet, I think. Yeah, it's just a matter of also connecting, being there. Yeah. All right, Chris. So I want you to answer in as few words as possible.
Okay.
What are three qualities that an employee should carry every day to sustain positosis in the workplace?
So we're gonna keep this brief. We want just 3 words, right?
Yes.
All right. So the first one is a phrase, 2 words, but it's a phrase. Uh, One thing that I think is really important: comfortable confidence. Comfortable confidence. Do you want me to expand on that or just leave it at that?
No, I would totally love for you to expand on that because I think people can say confidence, but I think this is the first time I've heard someone say comfortable confidence.
Yeah. So comfortable confidence, we acclimate to our environment, right? And so once we acclimate to our environment, then or we acclimate to anything, right? Then we start to be comfortable, right? And so once you get comfortable and you bring that comfortable confidence, and the way that you can create comfortable confidence in your team is by doing the things that we said, like the leader brings that consistent positive energy, that language of positive encouragement. Basically, even though every day is a different day, but there's not going to be massive mood swings and energetic shifts from one day to the next from our leaders. Okay, he or she is going to come in. Maybe some days are a little better than others, but for the most part, like they're pretty chill. They're super supportive. They're encouraging. And so I can have comfortable confidence is where I can come in and be comfortably confident that today is going to be an awesome day, regardless of what happens. The other thing is that's really huge for me is belief. Belief. So Bea, I have a question. I'm going to just flip it on you here for a real quick second.
Okay.
So tell me from your perspective the
Mhm.
difference between believing something and thinking something.
I think the main difference between that is that you can necessarily start thinking a lot of things, but there is doubt sometimes what you think. Sometimes what you think can be true,
Mhm.
and when you believe, when you think, you can already believe it. But I do think there are times that you can think something, but not necessarily believe it. So yeah, that's a very main difference, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
is that
Well, I mean, first of all, whatever you think about, whatever your perspective on it is your perspective. I just happen to massively agree with you. Like to me, there's a really big difference between thinking something and then believe in something. One, there leaves room for a lot of doubt. The other one, you're solid. And
Yeah.
so belief is really, really important. Um, I believe, like when somebody arrives, like you out, the question was like, what are three things that you can have in the? Tell me the question again.
Oh, what are the three qualities? Correct. Yeah. What are the
Yeah.
three qualities an employee should carry every day to sustain positosis in the
Yeah.
workplace?
So to sustain positosis in the workplace, first of all, you have to believe. You have to believe in positosis, and you bring that. So, and we talked about consistency. And the last thing is that I think is really, really important is body language. Body language. And you don't have to be a body language expert to understand what that means. One but like
Yeah, I get you. I'm getting you.
yeah. So to me, body language says it all, and especially like if we were in person, Bea, we could like I could feel your energy in person, you can feel my energy in person, but that's not what we have right now, and we're grateful to have this remote thing right here. So one tool that we have to maintain that positosis is body language. So I'm not sure if you paid attention to my body language today, but it's really
Hmm.
important to me, and I want body language to project, hey, he's comfortable, he's present with me right here right now. And how you do that is how you do that, how I do that is how I do that. The only thing that's important about body language is just to be aware of it, and then each person will be able to come up with that body language that works for them and that projects what they intentionally want to project.
I really love that. I don't think I've ever heard someone also say that or like think about body language that way. It is kind of making me think, is this because of your history about being an athlete and also leading, the Reebok City workout jam? Because I found a clip of you from way back from that, and you just seem like you're having so much fun. You're leading, and it's funny when you mentioned earlier, like, sometimes like a camera would cut out, and but you just gotta keep going. And yeah, I think that's just such an interesting thing about body language. But I do want to follow up with a question because that made me think about, well, I get what you meant about like projecting like good body language or,
Mm-hmm.
being comfortable with yourself. It starts with being, like comfortable confidence. But
Mm-hmm.
what about a person who's still not quite comfortable yet? What if they're still kind of like, figuring that out? And or maybe like these are the three qualities that you think are important employees should have. And I also agree. But what do you think, or do you have any tips on how they can start on building on that? What if they don't have that yet?
If they don't have confidence yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, so first of all, that's a great question, and I was really hoping that we would get to this question. And so when you think about when a person thinks about building confidence, like when you think about it, so Bea, what is something that you love to do? Just an activity that you love.
I like to read a lot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you were first learning how to read, when you were just a little kid and they were teaching you how to read, right? And so I don't know if you can remember then, but when you first started reading, like you probably had to really focus, right? Like you had to
Yeah.
probably pay more attention. Oh, I don't know what that word means. And you have to
Mm-hmm.
sound it out, right? Until
Yeah.
ultimately, over the course of time, you started improving, right? Your reading skills,
Mm-hmm.
and then probably as you got older, then you could probably start to actually retain and really retain the information that you're reading and enjoy the story or whatever you're reading. And so
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, I'm assuming that to this day you'll probably pick up a book fully confident that you know the words and you're gonna be able to retain the information, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so basically what has happened was your skill set hasn't improved. So confidence is about stacking successes on top of each other. And as those confident as those little successes start stacking on top of each other, what starts happening is your confidence starts changing. In as far as in terms say of basketball or even say dancing, when I was teaching people how to dance. So when beginners would come, they would have a really hard time learning the steps. right? So we go super slow. Okay, you go over here, you go over here, and then the next time we were dancing, they're still super nervous, but then they kind of knew the steps, felt a little bit better. Third time they come, oh,
Yeah.
okay, until ultimately, hey, let's go. So you stack successes on top of each other, and the way that someone can put that into their daily life is so you start stacking successes in your life from moment one of when you get up. So my process to stack success, I build my confidence every single day, and I do that every morning. I get up every day at 3:30 in the morning by choice. And the first thing that I do when I get up, my first success is I make my bed. Make my bed. And
Yeah, I hear you on that.
I don't just make my bed, I make it right. And so in my head, I'm going, check. Success number one, off to a great start. I go into the room, I take a really good shower. Check. Number two, it's 3:45 a.m. and I've got two successes. And then I come and then I work on content for something for a few minutes before I go to the gym and swim. So I have half an hour. Check. It's now 4 a.m. and I'm getting in my car to go down to the pool to take my swim for the morning. And I've already got four successes. I go to the gym, check. And so I'm just stacking success, and success is whatever you decide success is. So if a person that's listening, if success is getting up and making their breakfast for their kid, check, success. So everything that you do can be used as a building block to success.
I love that. I totally hear you on that. Because again, it kind of boils down to it. It should be easy. Like the positosis mindset in its core and in its essence is easy and it's simple and it should be. And I think it's also having this awareness. See, Chris, I'm already learning so much, and I hope that the people watching and like listening to us also are starting to reflect on the things that you've shared and talked about. I really love that. Yeah.
Well,
So
I love that you keep saying, I love this, especially for your audience, that it's simple. And it stays simple, babe. This is simple. You don't need to buy anything either. Some things you got to go buy 18 things and then maybe you can be enlightened in 2 months. No,
yeah,
this, like everything that you need for positosis, you have.
yeah. I mean, I think you only need yourself, and just that's why I really love like when you said stacking up successes. I don't think I've heard anyone else, as I know, say it that way. Because usually while you were, like while you were, like explaining, I was thinking about this kind of sounds a lot like discipline, and it is. But the way that it's, like the way you think about it, the way you believe in it, is a positosis mindset. Whereas, like, yeah, there is this essence of discipline in it, but without, because I think sometimes people think of discipline as something rigid and can
Right.
something like, and that sometimes there are like disciplinary actions. I think like people have a tendency to also punish themselves for missing something. So instead of just, like, again, like pointing out problems or like within like a group or within yourself, it's a matter of no finding these solutions, finding like these successes, right?
You're getting it. Like in real time, you are getting it, and you're right. And the only thing that I would say about discipline is just add one more word to the beginning. I don't ever say discipline. I say simple discipline.
Simple
Simple discipline.
discipline.
Yeah, we don't need like, and here's where I
Yeah.
learned discipline. And this might sound like it doesn't have anything to do with anything, but it has everything to do with everything. So in Hawaii, I was surfing bigger waves and bigger waves. And when I got up to about the 12-foot mark, it was like just a mental thing. Like waves would be like little like 13 feet, like 12 feet. Yeah, I'm good. I go. But then would it just be just like a little bit bigger than that? I just had a mental block and I couldn't go. I couldn't go. And then what I realized, and finally, my homies, they're so sick of me not going on the good waves. They're like, just go. And so one time, it just took one time, Bea, I paddled into a 13-foot wave. And what I realized, like, simple discipline, courage. You don't have to be a courageous thing and change the world. You just need simple discipline and courage is just an invisible line. And all you need is just 1 millisecond to just step past it. And so once I took that last two paddles that I needed to take that I've been really fighting to take for 2 years, when I finally did it and I made it, I'm like, ah, so you don't so simple discipline. You don't have to be like pin down to your thing every day for the rest of your life. It's simple. Just one moment. It's just one moment is all you need. And once you get past that moment, you realize from this point in my life, everything has just gotten 1,000% easier. I don't want to have hardcore discipline. I'm just going to employ simple discipline.
Oh, I totally hear you on that. And I love how our conversation is also just evolving on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, obviously our conversation is about like the benefits of positosis in the workplace, but it's just so much more beyond the workplace. It's also kind of taking your own experience in your life, like everything that you've shared, Chris. It's about living your life, and also just the workplace is just one place. It's a scenario, it's a situation, it's also a community, and what you can share from your life experience into the workplace is where it's at. But yeah, I just love how our conversation has been going like this. I'm obviously learning so much from it. And you know what, when you said, like, sometimes it just takes that 1 millisecond, that one moment,
Yeah.
because it's that one moment that you decide you're gonna overcome a fear.
Mhm.
Because I think people also tend to, like, they don't want to try because the fear is bigger than their belief. You know what I
Yeah.
mean on that?
Yeah, and exactly. That's a great analogy. And taking like that example that you just said. So for someone to step past that fear is not real. It's an invisible line, and you just got to just barely cross it. And it takes like this much time. That's how much time it takes, and you're past it. And man, I think maybe your listeners, maybe they can relate to this. I'm pretty sure they can, but most often than not, something that we're like super afraid of, or that like something like when you finally do it, you take that simple step. Most of the time, you're going no big deal. That was like
Yeah,
no,
no big deal.
what? No big deal.
Yeah. Chris, I love our conversation, and I to like to help me like summarize some important parts as we wrap this up. So we've learned that positosis is obviously Chris Toledo's brand of positivity, but the story of it, reclaiming a word from like looking at the curvature of the positivity, like positivity and scoliosis. Who would have known, right? So thank you, Chris, for that. It's a matter of like, yeah, reclaiming something that might have had, like more negative connotation. But again, positosis is about realigning yourself, aligning yourself to the mindset of something more positive. And positosis versus positivity, they're different. And we definitely do not want to be we don't want to be a cheerleader. We want to be in alignment. I really love that. And it's a matter of like a mindset reset, learning consistency, and like how to clear that energy so that you are prepared for whatever, preparing your personal energy. And that definitely echoes with becoming a leader or being a leader, you know? And there's just so many things that we talked about. Wow. But what really spoke to me is I'm not a cheerleader, but I'm aligned.
Yeah.
Right now, until now, that really speaks to me, because yeah, we don't want to just keep like saying, oh, go, you can do it.
Yeah.
You want to also kind of like objectively find yourself that, yeah, you're aligning yourself to this. And it's not about pointing out problems, but finding the solutions to these problems. And maybe not, or like not making up problems anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And
But yeah, there's just one little thing
mhm,
that I think is really key that could help your learners. Also, just one little additional piece to
okay.
positosis. If we have just 2 more minutes.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. And so a big part of the positosis mindset too is training and retraining how you receive information. And so, for example, say you're kicking it with two of your best friends, right? And you tell them your best story, and friend A goes, "Oh, bad! Oh, that is so awesome! Yes, you know what? Yes, I believe in you. I know you can do it." And then friend two heard the same story. Go, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, okay, you know, good luck on that one. Sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money, but they heard the same story. So first of all, good news for having two friends that listen to your story. But second of all, it just tells you that one person more than likely unconsciously has trained themselves to receive information through a positive filter. So when they're hearing the story, they're hearing the greatness, they're imagining the vastness of the story. The next person has more than likely unconsciously installed otherwise like negative filters to look for what the problem is. Oh, well, what's wrong with it? Why won't that work? Okay, they're both good, but positosis is deleting those files and consciously installing filters of how you receive information so that you're not a cheerleader. So when anybody tells me anything, I'm not turning it into a positive. It comes in and the way that I receive it is through a positive filter. So automatically, like the good stuff is coming through. That's what I'm hearing.
All right.
Does that
Thank
make
you.
sense?
So,
Does that make sense?
yes, no, it does. I think because, yeah, it's like when things are already coming in the first place, it's where your mindset is at, like how you're already viewing it. It's about, it reminds me of like the glass half full, glass half empty
Mm-hmm.
idea. It's if you're a person who thinks of life as like glass half full,
Uh-huh.
then it's half full. But if you think that it's half empty, it's half empty.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I totally hear you on that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So getting back to your leaders, how do they manage and lead their group? So
Mm.
they set up like this culture of positosis that everybody doesn't have to believe the same way, but if we have a common goal, believing in the positosis mindset, then you got your whole group thinking half full. And just that alone, like you're starting way ahead. And so these little, like you painted a picture a little while ago, okay, things are all crazy and people are mad and they're pointing fingers and all that. Well, with the half full thing, then corrections are made easily.
Yeah, I totally hear you on all of this, Chris. And to also continue with our summary, and yeah, obviously, like already coming from you, the three qualities, and I love this also, other than just not being a cheerleader, but being aligned, is the three qualities is comfortable confidence. That's so different. That's so different in how you view it. Second is belief, and like it's not like just thinking but really having that belief when it's different when you believe something. And then body language, I think it's also nice that it ends on body language, the qualities that you said, because I do think that once you have the two, body language follows. Once you've found that comfortable confidence and you're like building on that belief. And it starts also with like stacking your successes on top of each other. There's just so much we've talked about that I love. And, like fear is just an invisible line that you just need one insane moment to cross in order to get to this where we are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's hey, babe, it's
Mhm.
easy, right? And it's fun. It's light.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm definitely getting that. Thank you so much, Chris. See, like for those who are watching and listening, I hope that it's this conversation is also getting you guys to think more about the positosis movement. And I mean, just right now where I am, I'm already thinking of a lot of things and reflecting on a lot of things. So let's cap this off.
Yeah.
Um, oh yeah, Chris, so we have Chris Toledo over here. We talked about the benefits of positosis in the workplace. So we've learned so much from you. Just wanted to say thank you already up front, but do tell the listeners and those watching where to find you, how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, so probably the best place that they can go to my website, which is positosis.com. And so that's probably the easiest and fastest way that they can, that all my contact information is right there, including links to I have a podcast as well called the Positosis Podcast. It also has a link there for people that would like me to come to speak to their organizations remotely or in person. I do both. That's the best and easiest place. And then I has all my social stuff on there.
All right. And of course, we're going to link all of Chris's links in our bio or our description box. You'll find them
Yeah.
all there. So, all right. I just wanted to say thank you everyone who watched and or listened to today's interview with Chris Toledo about, again, the title of our topic, which is benefits of positosis in the workplace. And don't forget, if you're a business owner that is in need of growing your business to achieve entrepreneurial excellence by hiring a virtual assistant, or you're curious to know more about what we can offer, then make sure to get in touch with us, WeGrow VA. Head over to our website, wegrowva.com, to schedule a call. And don't forget to follow WeGrow VA over on all of our social media to be updated on the latest ins and outs on anything and everything. Link in bio. So thank you once again, Chris, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.